Hello, welcome to my light fixture project again. So tonight I am cutting the cords, I should say stripping the cords that are going up into the ceiling canopy. So basically the basis of the light fixture is it's 19 kombucha bottles, and so you can imagine 19 wires that would be going kind of splayed out up to a point in the ceiling. They go inside a ceiling canopy, and then you have to wire them all inside of the canopy. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's all the 19 cords. So the idea is they go inside this canopy. This canopy is an aluminum bowl I bought on Etsy. It's about 60 years old. It's called Kensington aluminum. I don't know, some like fancy, I think, brand back in the day. And I also bought this on Etsy, which is just like an aluminum 6-inch diameter disc. So I took this disc, I drilled 19 holes in it, put these what are called strain reliefs in it. And the idea is once the wires come to that big hole, I feed them individually through each one of these ports. These ports have these adjoining nuts. You slide the nuts over the cords and then you tighten them down. And so once you get it nice and tight, it locks the cord in place so it will never move. So it just like holds it at a certain height. So the tricky part about this is that there's a lot of cords going into this space, and then each cord has wires inside of it that I have to join together. So there's 19 cords, there's 3 wires in each cord. I'm not going to use the ground wire, so that's 19 times 2, so that's 38 wires that I have to basically like arrange on the outside of this. So I have like a little diagram here. So this is, the setup that mimics this over here. So basically these different numbers represent different lengths of the cord I need. So number 1 is the one coming straight from the middle. So that's its own unique length. And then the 2s are splayed out a little bit. So those are a little bit longer. And then the 4s and the 5s are a little bit longer than the 2s. And these are just like slightly different in length because of the way they're positioned. And if you imagine like this diagram here, so there's 19 spots here, 19 dots here. So they do positives and negatives. So basically these, you take 3 positives, put them into one wire, 3 positives into one. So then you then join these 3 into one, then you finally join these 2. So there's 18 different like connections here. So there's 18 different wire nuts. So all that stuff's gonna be happening in here. So you gotta be smart about how long you leave these wires. And you have to do everything before it's inside of here. When I say do everything, you have to strip the cords and actually strip the wires as well before you put them in here, because you can't work with this cord when you're like, sticking your hands in here. It's just too difficult. So you gotta really plan ahead. So just to give you an idea of like something that would be simpler. So like this fixture up here, this is 5 bulbs. So there's 5 sockets. And so they're all meeting those 5 cords times 2. So the 10 cords are all meeting up inside that ceiling canopy. So the amount of cords I had to put in there was pretty simple. So I just cut them longer than I needed, and I didn't really worry about it. But with this, you got to be a little more careful. So in order to cut off this end of, or this outside jacket, in the past, I've always used one of these, like a utility knife. You gotta be really careful. Basically, you have to make sure that you don't actually cut into the wires. And then once you get it there, using like wire cutters, this is like an amazing tool. This is like dummy proof. You can just strip 100 times in a row, get it perfectly every time. But in order to do this, you gotta, I was trying to figure out a way to make it sort of like repeatable, because I'm doing it so many times. So I'll show you what I came up with. So this is 2 pieces of wood clamped together in a vise. And then inside, in between the 2 pieces of wood, is a razor blade that's barely sticking up. Maybe it's like a 64th proud of the surface. So what you do is I'm going to drag this cord across it, and you just go in a circle like this. You just twist it, And if you go around a nice, pretty good circle, you'll just do a really shallow cut around the diameter of the core, then you'll just pull it off. So you have to do it in 2 sections because it's really, these wires are really packed tight in here. So if you were trying to yank off this much cord, it's really hard. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm gonna do 2 cuts. So here we go, 1, 2. You don't want to wiggle it from side to side. You just want to keep it nice and straight. So you're doing an even cut around. I should be wearing gloves because it's really been irritating my hands because I'm like squeezing this stuff pretty hard. All right, there we go. Booyah. All right. All right. Now these strings in here, they insulate the wires. They're kind of like for extra protection of the wires. Then what I'm going to do is cut these, and this will make it much easier to pull off this remaining bit of jacket. So here we go. You can comment whether or not I'm breathing too hard. Something my wife would say to me if we were like watching TV. All right, let's see. Bam. All right. So up until I made this, I've been making, I probably made like, I don't know, 8 to 10 fixtures just using this type of cord before, and I've never done this. And what I just did would have easily taken me, I don't know, 2 to 5 minutes, I would say, but that was pretty quick, and I also didn't screw up, so it's like dummy proof, which I really like. So there you go.